Hey y'all, hope you're doing good today. So, in today's video, I don't have but just a couple of lines of notes, and that's it. So, I'm mostly going to be freestyling it, and I hope it comes out okay. And it'll probably be a little bit shorter video than usual. I've been watching some really interesting videos on YouTube, and I kind of had some things click for me, and I wanted to share that before it went away. It's already starting to go away. So, isn't it weird how you wake up and it's like things are fresh on your mind, whether it's a dream or a revelation, and it makes such an impact on you that this is how I do. I generalize and assume everybody else has this happen too, which is why I say you, but really it's me. But it's like sometimes I'll wake up and this revelation I've had, or these puzzle pieces that came together, whatever it is, they're so impactful to me. I think to myself, I'll never forget that, especially if I'm trying to think about, hey, I'm going to include that in my next video. Well, as soon as I say, it's like a curse. As soon as I say, well, I won't forget that, I do. I'll notice, a short time later, it's gone. And I'm trying to remember what that huge revelation was. Isn't that weird? It's, life is strange, right, to say the least. But anyway, I wanted to share what I can remember of my revelations this morning, and hope that it's meaningful and helpful for you. It was for me, very much so. So, I've heard of this type of therapy, or this, I don't know, this theory or academic model, or I don't know the right terms or labels to apply to it, but it's used in therapy, and it's called internal family systems, and sometimes it's abbreviated, you just say IFS, but internal family systems. And this is, even though I've heard of it in the past, I've never looked very deep into it, and especially lately for a long time. So for whatever reason, YouTube and the algorithm put one of those videos in my home feed, and I was glad because it gave an overview of internal family systems, and I'll drop a link to that down in the description. But it explained that what happens is just another lens, is the way I see it, another lens of understanding ourselves, a way to just analyze what's going on inside of our psyche. You know what I mean? So it proposes that we have these like parts. They call it parts within ourselves, and it's a way to analyze, again, the psyche. And some of the parts are called managers, and these are like. And let me just preface before I go further. This is very closely aligned with what we talk about on my channel all the time. Fairy tales and folklore, where you have all these characters and how they can represent different aspects of one person, typically the hero in the journey, right? In the story. Or if you're watching movies, it can be in a movie, or whenever there's a storyline, again, whether it's a modern day movie or an old fairy tale, whatever it is, it's you'll start to notice these parallels, and they're very similar in these certain types of characters. And y'all know, if you've been watching my channel for any length of time, we talk about this a lot on my channel. So I was super excited to be reminded of these parts that are a part of this internal family systems approach to therapy. So just remember that. Keep that in mind, and maybe you can kind of start thinking of certain stories you've read or movies you've seen where you're like, oh, now I can identify through this lens, the managers. And I don't know if this is all there are, or if this was just the only 3 introduced in this video I saw, but the video mentioned managers, firefighters, and exiles. And I haven't put my gel in today, y'all. I kind of got ready in a hurry because I was actually going to do my exercise before my video, but I wanted to go ahead and get my video out. So anyway, yeah, yes. So the managers parts are, and the video will explain it way better than me, because this is just, again, I didn't even make any notes. This is going off my really poor memory. But managers are supposedly the part of us that that try to do just that, manage everything. And I think there's a lot of thought that goes into that, and planning and all this stuff, right? But then you can have this sort of self-sabotage that happens because you have the other parts, okay? So like firefighters are those that, again, and I'm reminded also of Stephen Covey's 4 quadrants, the different approach of how we prioritize things, and sometimes it's automatic and unconscious, and we act in these ways and wind up sabotaging ourselves, or just not really looking out for our best interests. But the firefighters' parts do just that. It's kind of like they put out fires, but they do so by any means possible. Let me give you an example. Let's say there's an issue in your life, and like something going on, whatever it is, with bills or with your marriage or your job, anything, and you're stressed out about it. You're anxious. Well, a manager part might approach that by sitting down, looking at the facts, trying to figure it out, and I guess being reasonable or whatever. There's no rush to get it done time-wise. You know what I mean? But the manager role, my very basic understanding is that there's time allowed to those parts to figure out the what and the how and the best approach to issues in our life. And then you have, like I said, the firefighters, and they're doing just that. They're going to hurry up and take care of the problem, but it may not be the best way. So if you're anxious from whatever problem this is in your life, as my example, the firefighters may say, well, let's just go ahead and take care of that anxiety real quick. And that's going to be your impulses to, if you turn to comfort food and you overeat, and you self-sabotage your health and your body in that way, or if it could be worse. It could be like if someone's who's addicted to drugs or alcohol, or it could be any number of ways that a person can work against themselves and self-sabotage because they're trying to hurry up and fix the problem. And the problem may be anxiety, see, in my example. So that's what firefighters do. And then you have exiles. And exiles are supposedly the wounded parts of us. So, and I wish I could expand further, but I don't want to misrepresent this this type of analytics, I guess you might say. I don't want to misrepresent this this system of therapy because it's pretty cool. But I wanted to mention it to you and bring it up because if you have interest in archetypes and symbolism and all the parallels between all the different stories throughout time, including the stories that are represented not just in words but in images too. So like I've always enjoyed analyzing art. So you may see these same themes represented in a painting. And that's especially true in older paintings. Nowadays it's more like, let's make something pretty for the living room, and it's more focused on just nature or colors, things like that. So, but the symbolism it tells a story. Symbolism, we know, tells a story. And so that's the basis of what we're looking at. And we're looking at what is the story and how is it relevant to us. Sometimes the story seems to represent something out here in our external world, like what's going on with society at the time that the story was written or that the painting was done, or sometimes it's representing more than society. It may be like a belief system, or any number of different philosophies, or the artist's or the writer's own personal beliefs or opinions. Some of them are meant to be humorous and comical. So of course, it's up to you to determine the meaning, right? But I think there's something to be said about looking at the different parts of ourselves. And when you start to do that, I think that right there is what makes us, what's the word I want to use? Like get emotionally tied into a story. It's kind of like you can get so absorbed in a story sometimes, or a movie, or even a song, that you feel like you kind of lose yourself. It's kind of like you forget that it's fantasy and this is reality. You sort of forget that, right? And that's going to tie into the next part of our discussion here in a second. But it's because all the symbolism that's represented in this story and the different characters and everything, they are speaking to the parts of us, inside of us, that may not be fully conscious, and it resonates with us. It resonates. And so this whole hero's journey is a story of becoming whole, right? And that's the same goal, as far as I can tell, with this internal family systems approach. And so I can't wait to learn more about it. And I saw another video too, just very brief. I don't even think I finished it, and I'll drop the link if I can find it in the description, where I believe she's a counselor or therapist. She was explaining that with internal family systems, she doesn't try to force or pressure her clients into feeling like they need to hurry up and attain that wholeness, of the higher self, or the capital S self. She says that they actually need those pieces and parts of themselves to be heard and validated first. And I thought that was very insightful, very insightful. And I think that we need to, kind of treat ourselves in that way too. It's called mothering oneself or reparenting oneself. And that just simply means you are, and a mother has many roles, but primarily when it's, she's a healthy mother, she's going to be attentive and nurturing and sort of playing a therapist role or a teacher role or even a doctor role. And so you're going to be doing that to yourself by not, if you're not enrolled in therapy. If you are doing self-work, then that's my point here, is that you're going to be treating yourself in that manner. This is my approach, to not rush yourself, to have this goal in mind of being whole and healed to such a degree that you're rushing over and not willing to validate those parts of yourself. Yes, we don't need to rush ourselves. And that's super important as far as our healing journey, I would say. So the other thing I want to share with you all is this. And I feel like it sort of ties in. This is the revelation that I lost this morning, was the tie-in part. It's like I was getting, and I'm grateful for it, this flood of revelations. And I think it's a culmination of, just taking in a lot. I have some wonderful channels that I watch on YouTube, and I glean insights from them all the time. And I'm just, I think that, we have to be careful with what we take in, whether it's watching or listening or reading or whatever it is. Choose your content carefully. That I would certainly say that, and that's in the Bible. That's in the good book. But they don't call it that for for nothing. So, but and I can also, just quick side note, I feel like every time I've wanted to kick myself, or it's like you face sometimes some big consequences for choices you make, and you can go back and find the verse in the Bible a lot of times where it's like you didn't do what it said to do. And it's like, okay. So yeah. But let me try to reel myself back in here. But the part that's missing for me this morning was the tie-in between talking about internal family systems and then this next part I want to share with you all. Maybe you can make the connection. I don't know, but so essentially what I'm learning is, and I've been praying about it, and as a spiritual person, I'm trying to learn how to be more intentional and fully present in the moment when I'm communicating with God. I think that a lot of times we just have this assumption that what we need to do is pray, and so we're in this mode of just putting it out there, but we're not simultaneously in the mode of receiving, and so we're not catching, this feedback that is available to us. It's about a relationship, and I think that we don't often view it that way. I think a lot of times we just place God in this theoretic box, and that limits our relationship with Him. And so I've been watching another channel, and she's great, Barbara Frone, and she talks about learning to hear from God. And so I'll drop a link to her channel too. And so I've been really working on that, and it's interesting because she proposes you can either write out your questions and be in this intentional mode or state of wanting to receive, and a lot of times your answer will come right to you, right when you write it out. Or I think you can do it as well in prayer, and that's what I've been doing, and I've been getting some great insights that way. So I just wanted to share that with you. But as far as understanding what happened to you, if you were conned, if you discovered that an important person in your life was not who they presented themselves to be, who you thought them to be, or if you discovered someone, same thing, maybe they have literally a double life. And we talk about red flags, and we all these channels that talk about the hot topic nowadays is narcissism. But again, I try to stay away from labels. I don't think they're always that they in themselves can be limiting, and so essentially I like to use the term wolf in sheep's clothing, and I think that this is the revelation I had this morning, and this may not be a revelation for you, but it was for me, and I wanted to share. So the way you can both identify how you were deceived and how and also the way that you can protect yourself going forward is making sure that you are staying truly rooted and grounded in reality. And the way you do that is by using facts. And I'm a deep thinker. Y'all know that I'm all about the truth, and I'm all about learning and growing, and we never stop learning and growing. And I love to do critical thinking, but I'm also a spiritual person, and I think that when you are an optimist, you can leave spirituality totally out of it. If you're an optimist in general, or if you're a spiritual person, or if you are a creative person, imaginative person, or if you are someone, this could be and or with all these, right? You are someone who consciously or unconsciously, I would say mostly it's probably unconscious, were conditioned or learned to value a mindset of being kind of detached from reality. I don't think the term escapism is right here. I think that means something different and negative. I'm not sure. But in other words, if you're someone who maybe you grew up in a hostile environment with a very angry parent or whatever it was, and you learned to kind of withdraw into your own imagination and your books and stuff like that, then you may have this tendency to be, is it predisposed, preconditioned, whatever it is, to more of a mindset of hope And fantasy, which is talked about a lot on Sam Vaknin's channel, and I'm very grateful. I've learned a lot from him too. You might be more predisposed to that kind of an approach to life than one that's just willing to admit hard truths even to yourself. Even to yourself. And so the caveat here is this, and that is assumptions. I think a lot of people do make assumptions, and they do so thinking that they are being fully honest with themselves and just seeing things as they are and seeing the quote-unquote facts, when in reality there's parts of a situation that are missing in their life, and they have actually, instead of seeing all parts of a situation, they have made an assumption. And assumptions can be detrimental. Assumptions can steer you onto a totally different path. Assumptions can sabotage a beautiful friendship or relationship. Assumptions they can even, I would imagine, place you in a position of danger. So there's the caveat. You may think that you have enough proof or evidence or experience or whatever, knowledge about a situation to see facts, but you may not. It's kind of like you don't know what you don't know. So this is the caveat, and this is the part that I think gets exploited. It gets leveraged and exploited by these con people, because they know that you are either somebody very rooted in a life of faith and hope and optimism and desiring the best, and or they know that you're someone who is truly a critical thinker, and because you're a critical thinker, you're someone who doesn't rush to conclusions or make assumptions. And so there's this loophole there for these con people, and I think that they leverage that. They leverage doubt, your doubt, and they also leverage your faith and your hope. And so what I ultimately wanted to say, if I can gather my thoughts correctly here, it's kind of like I've been planting a lot of flowers lately and working in my yard, and sometimes I feel like this flood of insights or thoughts that I have, even like if you consider your mind like a radio receiver, sometimes I feel like I really should have used hair gel. I'm human, y'all. I can't help but notice. But yeah, it's good to be imperfect, right? So but sometimes I think these thoughts that we have are just like planting wildflowers, or even filling in gaps in your yard with grass, and you're just throwing this seed out, this wildflower seed or the grass seed, and you're just, sometimes the thoughts kind of hit us like that. And so I think that's why we use the phrase gathering our thoughts. It's like they're there, but it's like, what's the big picture? Sometimes you have to kind of imagine tiny seeds everywhere, and you're trying to gather them up. It's kind of like that. But ultimately what I'm saying is you have to consider your well-being and your safety first and foremost. And that's why I say a lot on my channel that I very, very much value transparency. It's an important, big part of honesty. Transparency is, because a person who is transparent is not going to have you guessing. They're not going to leave you a lot of room for having to make assumptions. And so if you think about the people in your life that you've known, that you feel pretty confident, or for sure, either one, are wolves in sheep's clothing, I wonder if you can notice this one common thing or quality within them, within their character. and that is they are elusive. They are elusive. They are mysterious, which that in itself can be intriguing, you know, because we know that very overtly egotistical people are, sometimes for a lot of us, those kind of people are a put off. You know, somebody who's just, they're loud with their arrogance, so to speak. So, sometimes, you know, our own desire to associate with people who are not that way can steer us this way, and then you come across somebody on your path that's very quiet or very withdrawn or very mysterious or elusive, and that can actually kind of pique your interest. But I caution you that what you don't know can hurt you. It can. And that's the moral of the story here. And a lot of us learned that the hard way. There were red flags, but there were a lot of parts that we didn't understand. I wonder if you can look back on this main, if you had a main narcissistic relationship, or a relationship with a sociopath or psychopath or someone you think has those qualities, or a wolf in sheep's clothing. I wonder if you can look back on that relationship and you can see how confused you were you know, that whole time. And there's something to be said about that. There's something to be said about that. So it just clicked with me, and I thought, and looking back on, you know, on my past, I was thinking, okay, this makes sense. I made excuses for the elusiveness. I made excuses, and I quickly bought into what excuses I was given too, because I wanted to hope in and believe in and have faith in this fantasy. And so this is how I think we can lie to ourselves, but we don't realize we're doing it consciously. But that's essentially what's happening, is you're lying to yourself. Because, and this brought me a lot of comfort with mourning you know, a relationship that either you had to leave because it was extremely toxic or dangerous, or a relationship that the person left you and you now can identify them as toxic, whatever. This can bring you a lot of comfort, and that is to realize you're mourning the fantasy. You're not mourning the reality. And this is the bottom line of my message today, is that no, we may not ever have all of the puzzle pieces. You know, I'm sitting here looking at my goldfish over here, and she's, bless her heart, she's so cute. And I guess it's a her. We've decided it's a her. I don't know. But I bought her a new tank, and so I'm going to be placing her in the new tank here over the next week, sometime soon, I hope. And she's, I've gotten really attached to her, and she's I'm thinking about those seed, you know, that are thrown, and it's like our efforts to gather them all up to try to make a decision, or to, you know, to feel a certain way about a person. It's kind of like, you know, the fish don't have a problem with it when I sprinkle her flakes all out there, you know, or give her bloodworms or whatever it is. She loves those too. You know, she gobbles them up super quick, and but she's cute. And so I'll share some video of her someday soon with you all. I think that it's peaceful to watch fish and just nature in general, don't you? I just love it. I got me a new camera recently, and I'm looking forward to getting back into that. I actually did photography back in college, and I even got to do where you develop your own film in the darkroom, and you develop your own film, and then also you develop your own prints. It was cool. And so and I did wedding photography, which I'll probably not ever do again because I was very lucky. The people I worked with were very nice, but I got to witness the really high stress levels, you know, in that kind of an event. So I'll never do that again. So there's my huge tangent while I smack my microphone here. But but I'll be sharing some of my new photography with you all too. But where was I going? That was a humongous gigantic tangent. So the bottom line is, yes, you may never know. You may never be able to gather up even the things that have been shown to you, even the things that, and you'll know things have been shown to you that you didn't pick up, like a scattered fish flake or seed, because you'll remember it in hindsight. So your mind caught it, but it didn't register in the moment for whatever reason. This is because, again, I think during certain phases in our life, we are operating from a position of faith, and we're I think the term is we're white knuckling it. We're like holding on like this. And so even though things register and, we catch things in our unconscious or our subconscious, it doesn't come to the forefront of our mind. It doesn't rise up to our conscious awareness until later, when we're out of the fantasy, or we've kind of let go of the grip on the hope. But I just encourage you to accept that there will be always room for assumptions. There will always be room for doubt. There will always be elusiveness to some degree. We can't possibly know everything about a person and situation and everything, but you can know enough, even if you understand the risk of making assumptions. I just encourage you to consider the risk in the other direction. That you have to consider your safety first. And so as you're going out there and you're meeting new people, take it slow. I just encourage you to take it slow. I have, and it's been a really good pace for me. And just trust what you see. Be strong enough to balance out your hope and faith in humanity and in the new relationships you may form and friendships. Balance that out with facts, the facts that you do see firsthand, and leave space and room for the elusiveness to become clear, for some things to surface and make sense. There's no rush. That's another tactic that manipulators use, is they try to put pressure on you and rush you to make a decision. And I think that we should always be leery. Is that word again? I think we should always be leery of that, So I hope this has been helpful. I'm trying to get the gears working this morning. I'm drinking my coffee. I've had most of it. I used to be a huge night owl, and I'm not anymore since I've had my daughter. And but sometimes I'll stay up a little late, and then I'll wake up early still, and I'll feel good, but it's just so nice to stay in bed. And sometimes I'll take a nap like right after I wake up. I'll wake up and instead of getting up and going and doing, because I'll likely never lay back down, I'll just go ahead and take my nap right then. And but then that kind of gives me a late start on my day. And so but yeah, our brain, it's just know your limitations, and be gentle with yourself. And I just encourage you to take your time in all things, and not to let those firefighter parts of you sit in the driver's seat. You know what I mean? Acknowledge them, understand our impulses to want immediate understanding or satisfaction or whatever it is, and just consciously execute your internal manager or parent role to, have your firefighters take a back seat and just put your reasoning in the front seat. Logic. It's a good thing. And so, but you don't have to totally let go of your faith and hope either. And I encourage you not to. So again, I hope you enjoyed this message. I'll probably make another video either later today or tomorrow. And I just hope that you have a beautiful day. And I hope this was helpful. I hope it got the wheels turning, which is always my goal. And I'll see you again very soon.